As Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's 37-year-old military leader, survived his 20th assassination attempt in July 2025, the question of who is orchestrating these relentless plots looms larger than ever. Since seizing power in a September 2022 coup, Traoré has faced an unprecedented barrage of threats, from ambushes and bombings to sophisticated coup plots, each pointing to a complex web of internal betrayal and alleged foreign machination. While Traoré's government has pointed fingers at Western powers, particularly France, and regional actors like Ivory Coast, the identity of the mastermind, or masterminds, behind these attempts remains shrouded in mystery. This report delves into the intricate layers of motives, actors, and geopolitical stakes fueling the campaign to eliminate Traoré, exploring the elusive forces seeking to derail Burkina Faso's quest for sovereignty. The latest assassination attempt, reported in July 2025, involved a meticulously planned operation targeting Traoré during a public event in Ouagadougou. According to unverified sources close to Burkina Faso's intelligence services, the plot relied on insider knowledge of Traoré's movements, suggesting complicity within his inner circle. The assailants, allegedly including disgruntled military officers, were intercepted before they could execute an attack involving explosives and small arms. While the government has not publicly named the perpetrators, posts on X and regional media speculate about a $5 million bounty offered to security personnel, with funds traced to networks operating out of Abidjan, Ivory Coast. This incident follows a pattern of increasingly brazen plots. In April 2025, Burkina Faso's authorities foiled a coup attempt allegedly involving Traoré's chief of staff, who confessed to accepting a 25 billion CFA franc, $41 million, bribe and arms shipments facilitated through Ivory Coast, with claims of French involvement. The plot, described as sophisticated by Security Minister Mahamadou Sanaa, aimed to sow chaos through a simultaneous assault on the presidency and terrorist attacks across the country. Earlier incidents, such as a January 2024 plot to bomb the presidential residence and a June 2024 ambush on Traoré's convoy, point to a coordinated effort leveraging both local dissent and external resources. The search for the mastermind behind these attempts reveals a tangled network of potential culprits, driven by a mix of ideological, economic, and geopolitical motives. Traoré's administration has consistently accused foreign powers, particularly France, of orchestrating destabilization efforts to maintain influence over Burkina Faso's gold-rich economy. The country's gold sector, producing 57 to 60 tons annually and generating over $2 billion in revenue, is a focal point of contention. Traoré's nationalization policies, including the transfer of 5 mining assets to the state-owned Sopamib in June 2025 and the construction of a 150-ton-per-year gold refinery, have disrupted Western dominance, particularly for French and Canadian firms like Endeavour Mining. Within Burkina Faso, internal dissent poses a significant threat. The April 2025 coup attempt implicated high-ranking military officials, including Traoré's chief of staff, suggesting that even those closest to the leader may be susceptible to foreign inducements. Earlier plots, such as the September 2023 attempt led by ex-military officers and the January 2024 scheme allegedly masterminded by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Santiago Damiba, Traoré's predecessor, highlight persistent disloyalty within the armed forces. Damiba, ousted by Traoré in 2022, is believed to be in Ivory Coast, a hub for anti-Traoré activities, according to Security Minister Sanaa. The military's discontent stems from multiple factors. Traoré's aggressive counterinsurgency tactics, which have led to heavy losses against jihadist groups like JNIM and ISGS, have eroded morale among junior officers. His reliance on volunteers for the defense of the homeland, VDP, a civilian militia, has also alienated professional soldiers, who resent the arming of untrained volunteers. Moreover, Traoré's crackdown on dissent, including the detention and conscription of journalists and critics, has fueled resentment among urban elites and religious leaders, some of whom were reportedly courted in the April 2025 plot to sway military support. Traoré's administration has repeatedly accused France, Burkina Faso's former colonial ruler, of masterminding plots to restore its influence. The 1958 French colonial agreement, which granted France control over natural resources in its former colonies, is cited as a motive for French hostility toward Traoré's resource nationalization. The expulsion of French troops in February 2023, the suspension of French media outlets like France 24, and the termination of defense accords have severed ties with Paris, prompting speculation of retaliatory measures. A July 2024 incident involving Air France, where Traore demanded a public retraction of Burkina Faso's red zone status, underscores his defiance of French interests. Posts on X have amplified claims of French involvement, with some alleging that President Emmanuel Macron personally warned Traore before the July 2025 attempt. Others point to Ivory Coast, a French ally under President Alassane Ouattara, as a staging ground for coup plotters, with Commander Joanny Compere and Lieutenant Abdrahmane Barry named as key figures operating from Abidjan. The April 2025 plots alleged use of Ivorian networks to channel arms and funds, possibly with French backing, lends credence to these accusations, though independent verification remains elusive. The United States, while less directly implicated, is also viewed with suspicion. General Michael Langley's April 2025 Senate testimony, accusing Traore of using gold reserves to protect his junta, sparked protests in Ouagadougou and fueled perceptions of U.S. interference. The suspension of $160 million in U.S. aid since 2023 and pressure on ECOWAS to isolate Burkina Faso suggest a broader Western strategy to undermine Traore's regime. A particularly sensational claim emerged in July 2025, when posts on X alleged that Traore's personal doctor was a Mossad operative plotting his assassination. These unverified reports, linked to a YouTube video, claim the doctor was uncovered by Burkina Faso's intelligence services, possibly with Russian assistance, and detained. While no official confirmation exists, the allegation reflects the growing paranoia surrounding Traore's security and the narrative of a global conspiracy against him. The involvement of Israel, a U.S. ally, is speculative but aligns with Traore's broader accusations of Western-orchestrated destabilization. The mastermind's motives are inseparable from Burkina Faso's strategic importance. The country's gold reserves, with over 11 tons collected in Q1 2025, and its role in the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, with Mali and Niger make it a linchpin in the Sahel's geopolitical realignment. Traore's pivot to Russia, including the deployment of Wagner Group advisors in January 2024 and a new mining license for Russia's Nordgold in April 2025, has shifted the balance of power away from the West. The AES's Mutual Defense Pact, signed in September 2023, complicates direct intervention, as an attack on Traore could provoke retaliation from Mali and Niger. Western powers, particularly France, face a diminishing sphere of influence in the Sahel. The withdrawal of French troops from Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, coupled with the AES's rejection of the CFA franc and ECOWAS, threatens France's economic and military dominance. Gold, a critical asset, is central to this struggle. Traore's policies have reduced Western firms' profits, with companies like Sarama Resources launching arbitration over lost licenses. The refinery's success, processing 12 tons in Q2 2025, further undermines the export of raw materials to Western markets. Ivory Coast's alleged role as a hub for coup plotters adds a regional dimension. Traore's accusations against President Ouattara's government, backed by France, stem from its condemnation of the 2023 Niger coup and support for ECOWAS intervention. The refusal to extradite figures like Damiba and other deserters has heightened tensions, with Burkina Faso's intelligence services intercepting communications linking Ivorian networks to jihadist groups and coup plotters. This suggests a proxy war, where regional allies of the West facilitate efforts to destabilize Traore's regime. The mastermind's success in orchestrating 20 attempts hinges on Burkina Faso's internal fractures. The jihadist insurgency, controlling over 60% of the country, diverts resources and erodes military cohesion. Traore's counterinsurgency strategy, including mass recruitment of VDPs, has been criticized for civilian massacres, with Human Rights Watch documenting 223 deaths in 2024 to 2025. This fuels dissent among soldiers and civilians, creating opportunities for foreign actors to recruit informants and plotters. The detention of journalists and activists, accused of undermining national security, further alienates potential allies, making it easier for a mastermind to exploit grievances. Traore's July 2025 address, urging Burkinabe to reject foreign bribes and unite against spies, reflects his awareness of the internal-external nexus. His invocation of Thomas Sankara, assassinated in 1987 with alleged French complicity, resonates with a youth demographic, median age 17.7, that sees him as a symbol of resistance. Protests in Ouagadougou, Accra, and London in April and July 2025 demonstrate growing Pan-African solidarity, amplifying Traoré's narrative of Western conspiracy. Yet, his reliance on Russian support and heavy-handed tactics risks alienating moderates, potentially empowering the mastermind's recruitment efforts. The identity of the mastermind remains elusive. Is it a single figure, like Damiba, or a foreign operative, or a coalition of Western intelligence, regional actors, and local dissidents? The lack of transparent evidence, coupled with the junta's secrecy, fuels speculation but obscures the truth. The April 2025 plot's confession of French involvement via Ivory Coast is compelling but unverified, as noted by security analyst Zagazola Makama. The Mossad claim, while sensational, lacks substantiation beyond ex-posts, raising questions about disinformation campaigns. What is clear is that Traoré's survival depends on neutralizing both internal traitors and external backers. His government's interception of plots, often with Russian assistance, suggests a robust intelligence network, but the frequency of attempts, 20 in under 3 years, indicates a determined and well-resourced adversary. The mastermind's ability to exploit Burkina Faso's security crisis, military discontent, and regional rivalries underscores the complexity of the threat. As Traoré pushes for economic sovereignty and regional alliances, the stakes for his enemies grow higher, ensuring that the campaign to eliminate him will persist. While Traoré and his supporters point to Western powers, France chief among them, as the architects of this campaign, the true mastermind remains elusive, operating within a murky ecosystem of geopolitical rivalries, economic stakes, and local discontent. This report delves deeper into the intricate details of the plots, the actors involved, and the broader context fueling the campaign to eliminate Traoré, uncovering the threads that connect Burkina Faso's struggle to global power dynamics. The July 2025 assassination attempt, reported on July 10, was a meticulously planned operation targeting Traoré during a public address in Ouagadougou's Place de la Nation. According to sources within Burkina Faso's Ministry of Security, the plot involved a multi-pronged strategy. A team of 6 assailants, including 2 active-duty soldiers, planned to use a combination of sniper fire and an improvised explosive device, IED, to strike Traoré's motorcade. The plot was thwarted when intelligence operatives, reportedly tipped off by intercepted communications, raided a safe house in the capital's Pat d'Oeil district, seizing weapons, encrypted radios, and documents allegedly linking the conspirators to contacts in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. The operation bore hallmarks of previous attempts, such as the January 2024 plot to bomb the presidential residence and the June 2024 ambush on Traoré's convoy near Dori, which killed 3 bodyguards. What distinguishes the July 2025 attempt is its reliance on insider knowledge. The assailants had precise details of Traoré's schedule, suggesting a leak from within his security detail or administration. Posts on X from July 12, 2025, claim that a $5 million bounty was offered to a senior officer in Traoré's elite guard, with funds allegedly wired through a Togolese bank account linked to a French intermediary. While unverified, these claims align with earlier reports of foreign funding, such as the 25 billion CFA franc, $41 million bribe uncovered in the April 2025 coup attempt. The recurring involvement of military personnel in these plots points to a critical vulnerability: disloyalty within Burkina Faso's armed forces. The April 2025 coup attempt, which implicated Traoré's chief of staff and several mid-ranking officers, revealed deep fissures in the military. Sources indicate that the junta's aggressive counterinsurgency campaign against jihadist groups like Jamaat Nasser al-Islam wal Muslimin, JNIM, and the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, ISGS, has strained morale. Since 2022, over 1,200 soldiers have been killed in clashes, with 43 fatalities reported in July 2025 alone in the northern provinces of Somme and Doudoulin. The reliance on volunteers for the defense of the homeland, VDP, a civilian militia numbering 50,000, has further alienated professional soldiers, who view the VDP as poorly trained and prone to abuses, such as the March 2025 massacre of 56 civilians in Yatenga, documented by Amnesty International. Key figures within the military have emerged as potential linchpins for the mastermind's operations. Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, ousted by Traoré in 2022, is a prime suspect. Exiled in Ivory Coast since 2023, Damiba has reportedly maintained contacts within Burkina Faso's military, leveraging his networks from his time as president. A July 2025 intelligence brief, cited by regional outlet Sahel Security, alleges that Damiba met with Ivorian security officials in Abidjan in June 2025, though no direct evidence ties him to the latest attempt. Other deserters, such as Commander Joanny Compare and Lieutenant Abdramain Berry, also operating from Ivory Coast, have been named in connection with earlier plots, including the September 2023 attempt to seize Ouagadougou's military barracks. Beyond the military, urban elites and religious leaders pose additional risks. Traoré's crackdown on dissent, with 23 journalists and activists detained since 2023, has alienated influential figures in Ouagadougou and Bobo Dioulasso. A notable case is the March 2025 arrest of Imam Tidiane Diallo, accused of inciting unrest after criticizing VDP abuses. Sources suggest that foreign actors have exploited such grievances, offering financial incentives to religious and community leaders to act as informants or facilitators. A leaked document from April 2025, purportedly from Burkinabe intelligence, claims that a prominent Ouagadougou businessman received $500,000 to provide logistical support for the coup attempt, highlighting the role of civilian collaborators. Traoré's administration has consistently accused Western powers, particularly France, of masterminding the assassination attempts to restore control over Burkina Faso's gold industry and strategic position in the Sahel. The country's gold sector, producing 60 tons annually and valued at $2.2 billion in 2024, is a flashpoint. Traoré's nationalization policies, including the June 2025 seizure of 2 mines from Canada's Endeavour Mining and the operationalization of a state-owned gold refinery processing 12 tons in Q2 2025, have slashed profits for Western firms. The refinery, built with Chinese and Russian investment, has redirected $700 million in revenue to state coffers, funding military and social programs. France, as Burkina Faso's former colonial power, is the primary target of Traoré's accusations. The 1961 Defense Accord, terminated in 2023, and France's historical control over resources via the 1958 Colonial Agreement provide a motive. The expulsion of 1,500 French troops in February 2023, followed by the suspension of French media outlets like RFI and France 24, marked a definitive break. Posts on X from July 2025 allege that France's DGSE intelligence agency has channeled funds through Ivory Coast, a key ally under President Alassane Ouattara, to recruit plotters. A June 2025 report by Burkina Faso's intelligence services claimed that a French diplomat in Abidjan met with anti-Traoré exiles, offering logistical support for the April 2025 coup attempt, though France denied these allegations. The United States, while less overtly implicated, plays a supporting role. The U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, has criticized Traoré's regime for human rights abuses, with General Michael Langley's April 2025 Senate testimony accusing Traoré of diverting gold revenues to fund a personal militia. This sparked protests in Ouagadougou, with 10,000 demonstrators burning American flags. The U.S. suspension of $160 million in aid since 2023 and its push for ECOWAS sanctions signal a broader strategy to pressure Traoré. A July 2025 post on X claimed that a U.S.-based NGO funneled $2 million to Burkinabe dissidents, though no evidence corroborates this. Ivory Coast and Togo emerge as critical regional hubs. Ivory Coast's refusal to extradite Damiba and other exiles, combined with its hosting of ECOWAS meetings condemning Burkina Faso's junta, suggests complicity. A March 2025 arms shipment intercepted at the Burkina-Ivory Coast border, allegedly destined for coup plotters, was traced to a Togolese port, implicating networks in Lomé. These regional actors, backed by Western allies, provide the mastermind with a safe haven to coordinate operations. A particularly explosive claim surfaced in July 2025, alleging that Traoré's personal doctor was a Mossad operative tasked with poisoning him. Circulated on X and a YouTube channel with 50,000 subscribers, the story claims the doctor was detained after Russian advisors uncovered encrypted communications with Tel Aviv. While no official confirmation exists, the allegation reflects the junta's growing paranoia and the role of disinformation in shaping narratives. If true, it would suggest an unprecedented escalation, implicating Israel in the Sahel's geopolitical chessboard. However, analysts like Sahel Securities' Zagazola Makama caution that such claims may be propaganda to justify purges within Traoré's inner circle. The mastermind's campaign is inseparable from Burkina Faso's strategic importance. The country's gold reserves, with 11 tons amassed in Q1 2025, and its role in the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, with Mali and Niger challenge Western dominance. Traoré's alignment with Russia, including 300 Wagner Group advisors and a Nordgold mining license in April 2025, has shifted the Sahel's balance of power. The AES's Mutual Defense Pact, invoked during Mali's 2024 border clashes, deters direct intervention but invites covert action. France's loss of influence in Mali and Niger, coupled with the AES's push for a CFA franc alternative, threatens its economic grip, valued at $500 billion across Francophone Africa. Western firms, facing losses from nationalized mines, have escalated legal battles. Endeavour Mining's $200 million ICSID claim in July 2025, alongside Australia's Sarama Resources' $140 million arbitration, signals corporate pushback. These disputes provide a motive for Western governments to support destabilization, as restoring a compliant regime could reverse Traoré's reforms. The mastermind's success lies in exploiting Burkina Faso's vulnerabilities. A jihadist insurgency controlling 60% of the country, 2.1 million displaced people, and 7% inflation. The insurgency, fueled by JNIM and ISGS, diverts military resources, with 137 civilian deaths in VDP operations in 2024 to 2025 creating fertile ground for dissent. The mastermind's tactics, bribes, arms shipments, and insider recruitment rely on these fractures, with plots often launched from neighboring countries to evade detection. Traoré's response has been multifaceted but fraught with risks. His July 2025 address, urging Burkinabe to expose spies and unite, has galvanized youth, with #StopTheSpies trending on X. Citizen vigilance committees, established in June 2025, have reported 200 suspected informants, though 30% of cases lack evidence, raising concerns of witch hunts. Russian intelligence, via Wagner advisors, has bolstered Traoré's security, intercepting plots like the July attempt, but dependence on Moscow risks new forms of influence. Traoré's purges, with 150 officers detained since 2023, aim to root out traitors but may deepen military discontent. The mastermind's operations extend to the digital realm, where disinformation and propaganda shape perceptions. Anti-Traoré campaigns, allegedly funded by Western NGOs, amplify narratives of authoritarianism, citing the detention of 23 journalists. Conversely, Traoré's supporters use AI-generated content to portray him as a modern Sankara, with #BurkinaUni reaching 1 million posts in July 2025. Pan-African solidarity, evident in protests in Dakar and Pretoria, strengthens Traoré's position but risks polarizing domestic audiences skeptical of his methods. The mastermind's identity, whether a single figure like Damiba, a Western intelligence operative, or a coalition, remains unclear. The April 2025 confession of French involvement via Ivory Coast lacks public evidence, while the Mossad claim appears speculative. Key questions persist. How are funds and arms flowing into Burkina Faso undetected? Who coordinates the insider leaks? And can Traoré's intelligence, even with Russian support, outpace the mastermind's adaptability? As Burkina Faso navigates this existential crisis, the mastermind's campaign continues to exploit its divisions, testing Traoré's resilience and the nation's resolve.